Hey everybody, welcome live to the Jim Masters Show, live entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series. Hope you guys are doing well today. Thanks for joining us. It's good to see all your smiley faces once again. You didn't know I can actually see through the screen and see into wherever you are, right? Some of you, it's interesting where you are, where you're located. We have an audience of international viewers and fans of JMS, and we hear from them from all around the world. And I think that is so cool. So before we get ready to start things, let me just say thank you so very much for all of the comments, the letters, the emails, all of the sharing of the episodes on your social media, the likes, the comments on our YouTube channel, subscribing to the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, and everything you've done to sort of guide us as we continue to grow by leaps and bounds with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes we have done with our celebrity friends and special guests who join us here on the show. My next guest, yes, we're very excited because she's a return guest. Yeah, and we're so excited when we have guests that come back to update us on cool things and special things they've been doing since we chatted last. Most of our guests have actually wanted to come back on the show and return. I think it's a cool, warm, fun, conversational atmosphere we create for everybody that sort of brings that into the fold. My very special guest joining us here. Oh yeah, I know everybody's excited. Yes, Susan Lanier is here, and she's back. Extraordinary, iconic, award-winning, legendary actress, producer, and director. A lot of you know her from this. Absolutely. We saw it when it first aired. It was like on cable, and it was, I remember it well, and it scared the heck out of us. If you've never seen it, look for it. I know there's DVDs and probably Blu-ray, but look for it maybe on one of the networks, like a Tubi or some other type of channel. But get ready to make sure your doors are locked and maybe not watch it at midnight. It's an epic. Wes Craven, of course, at his best. There she is in The Hills Have Eyes, which was that epic 70s flick that people still refer to today. And it was just something, she's known for that. She's done so much more than just The Hills Have Eyes, of course, but she's known for her roles in The Hills Have Eyes. And that is a cult classic. And that is something that, again, when you do see it, expect to be a little, well, you'll just remember it. I mean, that will be your expression when you watch it. It really is amazing. So we'll talk about that, yes, of course, and everything else. There's another, you see what I'm saying? We have a lot of cool things to show you as we go along. We welcome everybody who's joining us here on the show. Again, these are some shots from The Hills Have Eyes and some wonderful shots that Susan is sharing with us here on the Jim Masters Show. Again, she has been with us. She was with us when the Darn-demic was happening. So it's great to have her back here on the show. And yeah, this really is an epic cult classic, The Hills Have Eyes. However, do you remember her in Welcome Back, Kotter on ABC? Yes, playing the girlfriend of none other than John Travolta. That's right. She made her guest appearance on Welcome Back, Kotter, where she played a flirtatious student named Bambi, who initially makes a move on Gabe. During that time period of her epic career, not only did she have an opportunity to, make appearances on shows, epic shows. There's Vinnie Barbarino, and Bambi. Shows like Welcome Back, Kotter, because she's hit the stage, film, television. She's been a part of our lives for a long time in various ways, shapes, and forms. This is going to take you back a little bit. Do you recall this? Electra Woman and Dyna Girl? Yeah, she was in that as well, gang. And of course, Three's Company. And this is kind of a cool thing, talking about Three's Company, because she got the opportunity to play Chrissy. Now, you might not have remembered that, but she actually did, which was something quite interesting and quite special. And that was back in 1976. She starred alongside John Ritter and Joyce DeWitt in the second pilot for Three's Company on ABC. And she served really as the original choice by the producers to portray that newly created character, Chrissy Snow. And I bet you didn't know that, or if you did, then you are a super fan of our very special guest here on the show. But here are some cool shots behind the scenes from that pilot shooting, which I think is really amazing. And yep, on the cover of lots of magazines over the years as well for her epic work and her starring roles on television and in film. Here's another great shot with John Ritter. She was also on another beloved series with Linda Lavin on Alice. She's appeared on Barnaby Jones. She was also on, I think, Police Story and lots more. Barnaby Jones, as I mentioned, and Tony, Orlando, and Dawn. This is the Rainbow Hour. Tony, Orlando, and Dawn. You may remember if you watch our show regularly, I just had Tony Orlando on our show. He's been on our show 3 times. He's a dear friend. And he was on recently as he wrapped up his 60-year career on the stages touring. And it was an amazing 3.5 hour epic concert that he did. But she was a series regular on CBS with Tony Orlando, the incredible Tony Orlando, and Dawn for the Rainbow Hour, which is amazing. Also, she was in Cut. Do you remember that one as well? Some of these, I'm sure, are bringing back some memories for you. Some really cool things here that we're showing you. Do you remember this one too? The Troth. And how about this one? Watch What You Ask For. Yes. And here's another. Are you guessing? We should do guessing games here. Beneath the Black Veil. Yeah, that's another great one. I mean, she's continued to perform, and she's also, in addition to being a brilliant and award-winning actress and producer and director, she is a spectacular singer and entertainer and performer as well. And that's something she's been doing for a long time. And we'll talk about that and some of the new things that she's doing. So many years of great shows and epic performances on film, on television, on stage. She truly is an American treasure, and we're so honored to have her back here on the Jim Masters Show Live series. Now, if you notice when she comes on the show, you'll notice a little glow around her. The glow isn't the lighting, it's the effervescent Susan, and that's because she just literally got back from an epic European vacation in Rome, Italy. Yeah. And then New York, one of her favorite American cities. She was in New York as well. I'll let her tell you about all of that. But she's sort of still glowing from, she doesn't have this look, that's for sure. She's glowing and she's happy because she just got back from Rome. So I see a lot of comments coming in. If you want to comment in our chat room, just subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Right now, you can comment, say hello to other viewers. We call them the JMS Lovedies from around the world. And so good to have you here. So without further ado, she is again glowing from just getting back from Rome. We were actually, before she went to Rome, we were talking about, setting a date to have Susan back here on the show. And here she is for you and for me and for all of us. Susan Lanier is back on the show. See the glow? See the glow I'm talking about? That's the Italian Rome glow.
Definitely.
Welcome back to the Jim Masters Show, my friend. It's so cool to have you here. And congratulations just getting back from a beautiful European vacation. I love it.
Europe was beautiful. It was hot, but it was gorgeous. And I'd never been to Rome before. It was my first trip there. So I fell in love with it. I actually was very sad to leave. So I'll have to go back.
What are some of the things you got to do when you were there? Did you try a lot of different foods? Did you do a lot of different sites? Did you do museums and art galleries, or did you just relax?
Food, of course, is everywhere.
It is.
So, oh my God, it's amazing. And it's wonderful because there are restaurants everywhere and they're outside and they don't even open until 7:30. And it's amazing that they eat really late. And it was just so beautiful. I wanted a Rome experience where I felt like I kind of lived there. And my girlfriend, who has a flat in Rome, was leaving for a month. And so she emailed me as well as some other friends and said, if you want my flat, let me know. And so I immediately got on the computer. Yes, I want your flat. And so I took my friend Holly Powell, who formerly was a casting director, well-known casting director, and we went together and we had a ball. So, yeah, I got to actually live in an apartment there.
Wow.
And what I was amazed is that the architecture is so old that they renovate the inside, but everything is just so historical and left the way it is. So the key to get in the door, we all have our little keys that we open our doors or whatever, was about, this long, and one of those big keys from like you see in Shakespeare.
Right.
Stick the key in the door and to open it. It was amazing that some of the stuff, like the outside stuff, has not changed. And the cobblestones at this age were a little challenging, let's put it that way. But I did it. I made it fine. It was so much fun.
That's incredible. So you hope to get back there, huh, and explore a little more whenever you get a chance?
Yeah.
You fell in love with it?
Yeah, I did get to Tuscany, but I didn't get to see Venice, and so I have to go back.
We were there on a PBS shoot. We were chatting. We chat with our guests before we go live on the air, and it was really fantastic. It was a time when there was a little bit of the flooding because sometimes the canals, the water level in the canals rise, which is really a cool thing to see. It's a crazy thing to see, but it's such a beautiful city. And like you said, anytime I've been to Europe for whether it's pleasure or a lot of times for television work and shows, we're getting scenes and doing interviews there. It's amazing when you look at the dates on the buildings, like 10 AD or whatever. You're like, what? It's sort of very settling and grounding.
The Colosseum and some of the different structures, are thousands of years BC. Yes. So that are still up and they may be in ruins, but they're there, and the history is amazing, and it is a constant reminder of how young our country really indeed is.
Yes, that's right. I've always said that anytime if you get down on where you live, one of the great things to do is get out of your area, get out of your comfort zone and go somewhere else, even if you're going just across the country, because America is so beautiful too, and Canada, our neighbors, friends to the north, beautiful, beautiful places. But if you're sort of down about things, go elsewhere and immerse yourself in the culture, fall in love with the elsewhere. But then it also gives you a new passion, a new appreciation for where we are and where we live, and some of the things we take for granted, and maybe some of the freedoms and the way of life, the conveniences, the easy button, and just different things. So leave, go explore, and then when you come back, you have this resurgence of energy and appreciation for where we are, right? Do you find that when you leave and you come back?
Well, I really appreciate air conditioning now.
That's a big one.
The flat we stayed in had a couple of fans, and that helped, but no AC, and it was pretty hot, and humid. And so, yeah, I always appreciate America and the U.S. when I come back from overseas, because I think we don't realize how great we do have it. It's just an easier place to live, in my opinion.
It's just certain conveniences and things we have that,
travel has gotten to be so great, because you meet people that you wouldn't meet if you stay home, and there's so many beautiful people out there.
Yeah, right. It's very true. But then again, if there's anybody who like we were saying before we went live on air, folks, we were having a conversation, about what we've been going through the last few years with that demic thing. I'll just say that, not to throw off the internet, the pandemic. She survived the desert. She was in the hills have eyes. So even though it might have been hot in Rome, this incredibly talented person survived the desert. What was warmer, that desert or Rome?
The desert.
Yeah.
The desert.
Yeah.
I just went to a party in Joshua Tree, 29 Palms. A girlfriend of mine had a birthday, and I went to go get coffee at a little coffee shop, and I got stung by a jumping cactus. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that. Anyway,
jumping cactus?
I just barely walked by this cactus. I didn't touch it, and it kind of goes right into your skin. Oh my God, I'd never heard of a jumping cactus. And when I got to the party, I went, I don't know, something attacked my arm, and everybody, the jumping cactus. Oh yeah, you don't want to get in that. And so you have to throw your clothes away because you can't get them out. You can't get those stickers out. Oh, it took about a month for me to get all those stickers out.
You know what you are? The word that comes to mind, you are incredibly resilient.
Yeah.
Your career, your experiences, your journey, your life experiences, the ups, the downs, the this, the that. You are resilient. You could have a jumping cactus come and grab you and sting you, but still make it to the party.
Yeah, nothing's going to stop me from the party, man.
That is something.
Once I can walk and get there, I'll be at the party.
We'll go back in time for the folks I know that want us to chat about some of the epic things you've been a part of. But sort of fast forwarding since we chatted last, what are some cool things that you've been working on lately? I know new music and other things, which is exciting. Tell us about some of the recent projects that you're very proud of and things you've been doing.
Well, last Christmas, I released a single for a Christmas song. I'd always wanted to write a Christmas song, and it was sort of on the bucket list. And so I released that with a little bit of radio play, airplay, and I had some things come up, so I couldn't really promote it as much as I wanted to. So I will re-release it this coming Christmas. It is on iTunes or whatever. It's called Merry Christmas on My Own. And then I finished 2 films. One is called Black Mass, which is getting some buzz and some awards, as well as one that is a film I'm doing where I play this really awful character named Martha, the bartender, called The Boatyard. And I love this character. She is so evil. And so I went from playing a PTA mom in Black Mass, and my daughter doesn't make it out well, but I'm a very prim and proper mother. And then I, with a German accent, so I'm a German mom. And then and then the next film I did, I play, a serial killer. So, I do have fun. So those are the 2 things that are the most recent. I'm writing on a book. And tonight, when we finish this, I'm going to my friend's house. We're going to finish a song we're writing on. So, I stay very busy.
You have, and some people might not realize this, and I think it's extraordinary. You have been doing this since a child. You've been on stage since the early age of 11, when you won Best Young Actress in Dallas, Texas, your hometown, starring in the play Winnie, the Littlest Witch. And you had a one-woman show, Swamp Cabaret. That's been playing, of course. That played to pack houses in LA and all later on. But going back, and so tying into the musicality of it all, since age 11, you've been doing this. What sort of inspired you to want to get into entertainment and acting and music and all of it? And what came first for you? Was it the music or was it the acting?
I think maybe the music, but I have had, I think, more success with the acting. It was pretty simultaneous, I have to tell you, because auditioning for that little play when I was 11. And I remember maybe writing a song when I was 12. It was horrible, but, I did it. And I thought, oh, that's kind of fun. I made a poem and I wrote it to music. I made up a little tune. And so I was very young when I started doing it. But my mom I grew up in Dallas, and my mother loved the Miss America pageant. And so we would watch it every single year. It was a religion for her. And so I'm way too short to ever be a contestant, to ever be in Miss America. But I would get in front of the TV and make fun of them, or try to mock them, or the contestants, or, make poses. And I could make my brother and sister and family laugh. And I found that, I think subconsciously, or maybe even consciously, that to be very powerful, and that they were genuinely laughing and not just being nice. And it just seemed like organic. That was be able to make somebody laugh. And so initially, when I went into all of this, I was pretty much interested in comedy until I got into my older teens, where I got cast in some Shakespeare and dramatic plays. So, I love it all. And I was watching a YouTube the other day, Judy Garland and Ginger Rogers and Lucille Ball, and they're like fine-tuned instruments to be able to dance, sing, and act, and the training that goes behind that is incredible. And I feel like maybe some of that is lacking today. I know that there's some extremely talented people out there. All we have to do is watch America's Got Talent and The Voice and all that stuff. There's amazing talent. But the training and the discipline that goes into it all is unique, and to those who actually have some success at this business.
Did you used to do plays in the backyard, in the garage, things like that when you were a kid too?
Yes, always. But I went to New York at a very early age.
Around 1967, you headed to New York, right?
Yeah, I was just out of school, and I just wanted to do plays and theater in New York and at Broadway and dance and sing and whatever. And so I feel like it's a blessing if you know what you want to do, no matter what it is. If you want to be a therapist or scientist or mathematician or teacher, it's great to know what you want to do when you're young, so that you can get yourself prepared for the journey and take the right steps to be able to be doing what you really love doing by the time you're in your early 20s.
Mm-hmm. So when you moved to pursue acting in New York and back in 1967, you attended NYU, New York University, right?
Yeah.
And what was the focus there for you?
Well, I needed a job. The truth is, and I'm writing a book about this, I needed a job just to eat. And so I was living in an apartment with all these friends, and I got a job at NYU typing. I'm very thankful to my parents, because they emphasized, you must learn to type if you're going to do this. And they were right. I've needed those skills from time to time. And so I got a job at NYU typing. And after 6 months or so, and I'd still do acting at night. I was in plays at night. I'd go to HB Studio and study with Uta Hagen at night. It was like, they said, well, now that you've been here 6 months, you qualify to go to be a student. And I went, oh, wow. And so I enrolled as a student and did a couple of years. I didn't graduate college, but I was a student at NYU for a couple of years. Yeah. It was a great school, still is.
So when you were doing that, were you auditioning at the same time? Were you, here you are in New York, where you were trying to get into off-Broadway, Broadway, and things of that nature, the theaters in the city?
Yeah, that's why I didn't graduate, is that I was auditioning and getting jobs. Yeah. And I just figured, this is what I want to do. So I'll put all the focus on that. And I was doing commercials. I did a lot of commercials. Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips comes to mind, and Coors Beer, whatever.
I
And
remember Arthur Treacher's, yeah.
products nobody has ever heard of. And then I was doing touring with dinner theaters and things like that, and doing a lot of comedy, which I loved doing. And so I put I'm glad I got some education, because I think that's really important, particularly when you're my age and you start trying to write a book. You've got to kind of know how to put sentences together.
Now, did you, sometimes I've asked this of people when they're talking about writing a book, autobiography, or memoir, throughout your extraordinary journey and your career, did you keep little journals and notes along the way? Are you able to pull from any of that?
Those would be crumbled probably by now, I would think. But I have always kept a daily journal of everything I do. And I started that as a very young girl, writing in my diary every single day. So I don't have those diaries anymore. I'm sure they're buried in some trash heap somewhere in America, but or deteriorated. But that I have always kept track of what I do, and pictures. I'm more of a visual person. And so I have so many photographs of historic, when I meet a new friend or something, I'll do the picture, whatever. I've just got thousands of pictures. Now I've tried to upload everything onto hard drives so that, it's captured.
Exactly. And that's a project unto itself to have, take all the photos and the imagery and the family photos and the 8mm and the VHS tapes and then the DVD. Each time we go from, okay, you transfer it to this. Now that's old. Now you got to move to this, to the. Pretty soon it's all going to be right on the pinky.
My father, though he had certainly, he was kind of wild and had his own wild faults. I mean, he liked to drink a little bit, but one of the things he loved to do was photograph us with his 8mm movie camera. He loved that camera.
My father too, same thing. Yeah.
He started when I was 3 years old. And so I have movies of myself at 3 years old, and he would put those bright lights on us,
Yeah, Christmas time, opening the package, all of that.
Daddy, I can't see my package.
The flash was blinding, wasn't it? I remember it.
Yeah, I mean, they were painful, these lights. But he started capturing us. I was 3 and my sister was newly born. And I'm really grateful for that, because I can look back and see my grandparents, whom I love so much, and just aunts and uncles and people that aren't here anymore. So, that's a treat.
He was ahead of his time, right? Mm-hmm. Exactly. My father, big with that as well. Sometimes we could only dig into the stocking and take a couple of cookies, or maybe just peel the corner of one of the gifts. We had to wait until they were up and the camera was set up. Then we could open the gifts because they had to capture it. And then, of course, I remember sometimes on Sundays, my father would set up the screen with the projector and have to run the film through the projector. And then sometimes it would get stuck and you'd hear a couple of words in the other room. I was just, what's going on here? And the splicing and all that he did. But God bless them for doing that, right? Taking the photos and the film and
he loved to do stills. And so I do have, I'm really lucky that I have such a nice history, of me, of my life. And I've done the same with my son. I am a photographer. So
yes, you are. Yeah.
Had taken pictures of him since he was born. And so it's really lovely to have a history of who we are and be able to pass it down to whoever might be interested,
That's the other thing. I know people, usually always chat about the, the incredible award-winning acting career and producing and directing, but you are a celebrated photographer and have been for a long time. And I think you've done work with also a lot, but Backstage West as well, too.
Well, I was awarded in 2005 an award by Backstage West as a headshot photographer here in LA. But I just recently shot an album cover for Capitol Records and with a young artist. So I'm still doing that. I have a full, I have a full studio in my place. And so I still work as a photographer, not like I used to. I don't want to work that hard. And the focus is really on music and acting right now and my book. But if somebody calls me and the price is right, then I'll shoot. Yeah.
Do you think some of that interest and passion you have for photography, some of it was sprinkled in early when you were a kid, seeing your father and the family capturing those moments with the cameras and with the, the 8mm camera as well? Did that sort of pique the interest a little bit?
I'm sure of it. My first cousin had sent me a picture she had in her stash of old photos of me, and I was about 8. And I had a Brownie camera strapped around my neck in little short shorts and a, little tank top or whatever you call them, and halter top. And I'm shooting, at 8 years old. And then I would give the film to my father and he would go develop it and then he would bring it back. And so I didn't really understand that process. And it was certainly before digital. And so it was a little harder to do than it is today on your phone. I mean, everybody can do it on their phone. But back then, you had to kind of know what you were doing, even with a Brownie camera, how to load the film and go click and make sure the light's okay. So I learned a lot of that stuff early, just as it was a gift, a birthday present. So, it carried over. The passions carried over from childhood. And I think when you you inspire children to take on these skills. You don't know what will stick or what won't, but at least you give them the opportunity.
That's the key. Exactly. Was there an instrument that came into your life early on? And if so, what was that instrument early?
My parents bought me a big upright piano when I was about 10, maybe 9. And I used to love to play it. And I took piano lessons from Mr. Hoppy, who was with the Dallas Summer Symphony. And he was very strict. He was from Hungary. And if I hit a wrong note, it wasn't like, oh, don't do that. You've got to do that over again. There's a big old ruler, and they slap your hand. Back then, you had to kind of, it was stricter time. And so anyway, I learned to read music a little bit, but it wasn't the kind of music I enjoyed. And when I was very young, like junior high, my aunt turned me on to a Ray Charles recording. And after that, I was stuck on the blues and pop and rock and, R&B. And I didn't want to play For Eloise one more time,
Right. Exactly. Well, what was the music that you were listening to when you were a teen and coming up the ranks? What did you have on your stereo system or in the car or on the boombox?
Well, when I was 14 or 15, there was a radio station in my neighborhood in Dallas called KBOX. And it was a rock and roll station, and they were looking for a teenage disc jockey. I got that job. They went to all the drama departments in the Metroplex, and they asked me if I wanted that job. And every night I would spin records. And so I'd go do school, go home from high school, and go straight to the radio station.
So you were you were one of us. You were an on-air broadcast professional.
DJ. I was a pro DJ when it was
KBOX Dallas.
and they called me Little Miss K-Box. So it has other connotations now, I suppose. I didn't find that to be any anything then, but anyway. So I would go to
I guess it's a lot easier with the K because, as we know, most of the television and radio stations west of the Mississippi start with K, and east of the Mississippi has always been that dividing line, start with W.
W.
The W box, that would be kind of hard to say. The W box girl.
Well, and I, after that radio station, I also got a job at a radio station called WRR, and I was not on the air there. I was more like into programming, helping. That was kind of a summer job after school.
Were you liking? Was the broadcasting industry, was radio and television starting to pull at you? Did you enjoy it?
I knew I wanted to act, and I knew it was kind of related to it, and I did not want to be a DJ. But Carol Burnett came to WRR one summer, and I almost fainted because I was such a fan, and I loved her so much.
And she's from Texas originally too, yeah.
And I went up to her and I said, and it was just me and the DJ. I mean, the station was empty except for Carol Burnett, and she's standing right there. And I just went, "Oh, Miss Burnett, I love you so much. And I just want to be you. And I want to be an actor." And she goes, "Well, you need to go to New York." And I was still in high school. And she said, she told me where to go to stay when I got there. And she tried to help me a little bit and gave me some tips. And she was so inspiring. And I went to New York the next summer because of her, by the way.
Now, does she know how? Did you ever get a chance over the years to express that to her?
Never saw her again, but that's how much she inspired me.
So Carol Burnett was a big influence. Who else were some people that inspired you, or that you looked up to, or that might have even helped open some doors for you along the way to get things in a forward motion for?
Well, like I said, I did a lot of dinner theater when I was very young. And so a lot of comedies and tours. And so I had worked with Eddie Cookie Burns from 77 Sunset Strip. I was playing opposite him, and he was much older than I was. And he was a teen idol. And so I got to be on the road with him, Pat Paulson from Laugh-In, and other people that just, I was in the shows with them. And so they would inspire me to come to LA. Everybody said to come to LA. And I mostly thought my direction would be New York. And I love New York City very much. I wish many times that I lived in New York, but I found more opportunities for me in LA than I did New York.
Film and television especially, absolutely. While in New York, of course, like you mentioned, and attending NYU, you appeared in numerous off-Broadway productions, many TV commercials, some of our favorite brands, and more indie films. And during that time, you appeared as Jean Lanier, right?
Yeah, I signed like at the backstage a little ad, manager looking for actors or something, and I sent in a picture and resume, and I got a call from a man named Kuno Spunholz, and he was from Europe. And I went into the meeting, and he was lovely, and he got on the phone rang in the meeting, and I could tell we had a rapport. And I was 18, I think. And he said, he picked up the phone and he said, "Well, I think I have somebody here that needs to come read for this." And he was talking to a huge Broadway producer named David Black, who was producing the Broadway show Fire, which only lasted, I think, one night. But at any rate, he said, "Quick." He said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Susie Ingledow." And he said, "No, that's not your name. You can't use that name."
Effective now, that's being changed, right?
He said, quick, what's your middle name?" And he's got the phone covered. And I said, "Jean." And he said, "Okay, Jean, what's your mother's maiden name?" And I said, Lanier, and he said, David, I have this wonderful actress on the phone. Her name is Jean Lanier.
Jean Lanier. I like that even more.
Jean Lanier. And I went, Jean Lanier. Oh my God. And I got the understudy role. So yeah, it was really cool. And so I don't know. I mean, that's how it was first Jean Lanier, and then because in Texas
Jean Lanier,
we're Lanier, and but then as I got a couple of more credits, and I was more comfortable with Susan, and that was what I had always gone by, and so Susan or Susie or Suze, and so I went back to Susan. So, and after I left Kuno.
I like. I was going to say. So
my first movie is called. My very first movie that I can remember is called "The Pickle Goes in the Middle," and I am Jean Lanier in that movie.
People are now going to Google that, and they're going to search for that. They're going to search for that. One of our.
It was a low-budget independent movie shot in Dallas. I went back to Dallas to shoot it. And it had Charlie Dale Smith and Larry O'Dwyer and a bunch of local actors and other people. It was a cute little stupid movie. It was very Sid and Marty Crofty, you know.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. Quirky and sort of
on a comedy.
Right, exactly. We had Marty Croft on not too long before his passing, and he was really just talking about their body of work and the things that the genius level of things they came up with were just, you know, they certainly entertained a lot of kids over the years too with their shows and their series for sure. You know, one of our viewers said that she Googled, she commented in the comment section, she said she Googled the jumping cactus, and she says, I don't want to be anywhere near that.
It hurts so bad. Don't do it. But thank you for looking it up and confirming what I just said.
Well, she's in Sweden, so I'm not sure there's a lot of jumping cactus in Sweden. So it's like,
I want to go to Sweden next. I really want to come to Sweden. So.
Do you have any Swedish in your background? What's the family makeup? The ancestral makeup.
Okay, so I did my 23andMe, and so I have a lot of Norwegian, Swedish, Scandinavian, and I have some African American, and a tiny bit of Chinese. I know that sounds weird, but those were the compositions: it's Scotland, England, Scandinavia, Iceland, African American, and Chinese. So.
I tell you, when people do dig into the ancestral history, you do find a lot of different elements. You were all related anyway, brothers and sisters, but yeah, and it's quite amazing. I know, well, I'm English on both sides of the family and Irish on my father's side, English, Irish dad's side. I think a little Scottish in there too. And then English, Swedish, and French on my mother's side as well. But I think if you dig deeper, we probably all have a lot of other things that are in us, but it's beautiful when you find all that out, isn't it? You're surprised.
I was a little bit upset that I didn't find out until I was older and could appreciate maybe what all that meant. And I did track it back to a couple of people that had been brought over from Sierra Leone, and they were slaves, and so. And I'm sure they were bought by slave owners. So I'm probably related to both. I don't know, but, I'm sure that's how it happened. But I have found a couple of amazing cousins that I'm so close to, and we celebrate holidays together. And I feel very blessed to be accepted into that part of the family. So that's cool.
Absolutely. We've accepted you into our lives for such a long time on stage, television, and film. When you did go out to Los Angeles and take that plunge, Dallas, New York, LA, what was one of the first projects for you that you really consider an important one that launched things for you? Was it Welcome Back, Kotter? Was that first, or what came first for you in LA?
Well, Happy Days was my first show, was my first
Right.
real TV show. It was because I'd been invited to the set by a dear friend of mine, like my brother, from Dallas, William S. Bickley, Bill Bickley, who was one of the producers of Happy Days, who was working with Gary Marshall. And I had called him to let him know he had been my acting partner in high school a lot. And so I called him and said, "Hey, it's Susie, and I'm here in LA." And he said, "You want to come to the set tomorrow?" And I said, "Oh my God, yes." It was Paramount. And he had a drive on for me and everything. And he took me onto the set. And I met Gary Marshall and Tony Marshall and Henry Winkler and Ron and everybody. And Henry said, "Make her my girlfriend," or something. And so they did. I mean, they wrote me in that week, and I played this prom queen. I didn't really have too many lines, but I was a little bit funny, and I was on. And just getting that first TV credit made a huge difference. And then my next show was Barnaby Jones.
That's right.
And I guest starred on that with Buddy Ebsen, and Pat Hingle was on that show. And I had a lot of stage experience, but not a lot of drama, film drama. And I didn't know that if you've got to make your mark. And so Pat Hingle laughed because, there are tricks that people aren't aware of, which is so that you don't have to look down for your mark. You have a sandbag. And Pat Hingle said, "Ask for a sandbag." I said, "What? What's a sandbag?" He said, come to my dressing room at lunch, and I'm going to teach you a couple of things." He was such a gentleman, and he did. And I mean, Pat Hingle, I was a huge fan of this man. And so he taught me a lot of film tricks that no acting class had ever taught me. And so I have a little acting class I teach on Zoom.
That's
And
cool.
little tiny thing, just casual. If anybody's interested, DM me. And but anyway, I teach some of these things that they just don't teach you in acting school. They teach you to act, but they don't teach you some of the tricks that nobody knows really how to do it unless you've gone on to set and you learn it the hard way. And so Pat Hingle was very instrumental in my becoming more familiar with technique. And then I did Policewoman and with Angie Dickinson, and
Policewoman, right? Yeah.
Switch with Robert Wagner,
Yeah.
and then Welcome Back, Kotter certainly changed my life in a lot of ways, because Bambi was a very popular character. But my favorite credit probably of all is starring at the Amundsen Theater here in LA with Richard Chamberlain and Raymond Massey. It was Raymond Massey's last play, and Tennessee Williams was part of our production. And I loved working in that incredibly prestigious arena of actors and artists. And Dorothy McGuire was in it with Eleanor Parker, and I loved Richard Chamberlain and working with him. He is a consummate artist. I mean, he's amazing. And that's if they said, "Okay, you've got to pick one thing that you ever did that you could do again," it would be that play.
That's an extraordinary thing to be a part of, right? And Tennessee Williams and just those people that you mentioned that were in that aura were extraordinary. And that probably gave you a deepening appreciation for, the classics and for that type of theater, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, because I played the young girl on it. I played the Sue Lyon role, and so they were all older and seasoned and movie stars, and it was like they just took me under their wing. The other person that influenced me a great deal was Cloris Leachman,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I guest starred on Phyllis,
Phyllis,
and she was. Everybody said, "Oh, be careful. She's tough. She's not, don't go close. You don't talk to her." Oh my God, she couldn't have been nicer. I
she was
mean,
out there, right?
so motherly and sweet, and we just bounced our comedy off each other. It was great. I mean, that's a great memory. And she was very influential as well.
You also got a chance. You mentioned Policewoman 2. Eight is Enough,
Yeah.
another one that you had an opportunity to be a part of. That was very popular. And that was on IBC, of course. Electra and Dyna Girl.
Sid and Marty Krofft.
Yeah. How cool is that, huh?
I did a couple of projects for Sid and Marty Krofft, and I was really, really grateful to them. And Michael Constantine was great to work with.
Oh, yes, that's
I
right.
played his magician's assistant in a little tutu, and that was fun. And I do have a lot of fans that'll come to conventions and want me to sign Electra Woman, and Dyna, Miss Dazzle. I played Miss Dazzle, and they'll have asked me to sign that picture. I can't believe they find these
They
pictures.
find these. Look at these shots.
There's Miss Dazzle, and I sometimes a fan will bring me a picture, and I'll go, "Where did you get that? I've never even seen it." So back then we could not, if you didn't watch it when it aired, you might never see it. And so sometimes I saw it, and sometimes I didn't see my work.
Sometimes you didn't, because you were then also, moving on to the next project and what it was that you had to do, right? And keep the wheels turning, which is part of the whole thing. Incredible amount of work, really, when you look at the variety of things you've been a part of, even working with Linda Lavin and Vic Tayback and everybody with Alice on CBS.
Yeah, they were both really nice. Everybody was really nice. During COVID, you mentioned, that awful period. I did do a series that is on Tubi called Red Rooms, and that was produced by Brooke Lewis Bellis and directed by Joshua Butler. And that's getting a little bit of, that's a newer thing too. And I play Senator Larkin, evil, and that's a new credit. And that was shot. I had to shoot it in my. He directed it virtually. You can do such amazing things right now. He directed it virtually, and I staged it in my own studio, and we shot it virtually, and so it is on the air, and it's pretty cool.
They did that too a lot during that time period, where there would be the drummer in his house and the guitarist in his house and the violinist in his house, and she would be in that house with the piccolo or whatever, and they would somehow bring it all together, record it all, and create music that way too, remotely, which the technology has allowed people to do, which is fascinating, isn't it?
It's amazing what's accessible right now. I mean, you can make your own film with your iPhone, really. I mean, you run it through the right filters and whatever, and put the right stuff on it. It may not be, a masterpiece or anything, but there's so many things that are accessible to particularly the younger generation right now, the younger generation of artists. And yet I think there's also a lot more competition. So everybody's got a project. So
do you like that, or are you somebody who always enjoyed the larger productions and the crew and the crane operator and the boom mics and the studios are on location, the larger production versus just like the iPhone or the scaled down types of things? Or just whatever it is, I'm there, let's make it happen? Or do you lean more towards the old school?
Being on the old school lot. I mean, I love the nostalgia of having all the crew around and not having to do my own makeup and hair, and and having all the, it's exciting. But that being said, it's really about the character you're playing. How much do you love playing the character? And I do find that if somebody's really creative, no matter what the circumstance, they're going to continue to be creative. And so if it's COVID, you'll find another way to do it. If a friend of mine was talking about a band that he's in, and the drummer's had a leg amputation, but he's drumming better than ever before. So, I find that if you're a creative person, you're going to find an avenue to express that need to be an artist. And those are the people that I mostly hang out with and love to be around because we inspire each other, hopefully. And I think the advantage too, though, about now is that you do it is international. You know, it's not you're not limited to just LA or Texas or New York. It's we can all communicate. And I met my friend in Rome. I never met her in person that invited me to stay at her house, but I knew her well from Zoom.
Wow.
And she just said she said, "I've got this flat. Do you want it for a month in Rome?" And I went, "Well, yeah." I mean, it's like we're great friends on Zoom, and I find that to be amazing. You know,
Yeah, exactly. And the last time that we heard Zoom was either Mazda, Zoom, or that PBS Kids series in the 70s, Zoom. We're going to Zoom. And now that whole world has just become part of our true way of life, way of communication on so many different levels.
I'm in a
You,
writing group, and every Sunday it's led by Robin Weigert from the TV show Tracker. And the amazing people in this group, the actor Richard Schiff and Michael Christopher, who wrote Gia, and there and my friend Kate Nichols has a book out, and she's the one with my friend in Rome. And it's amazing how a third of the group we meet every Sunday, LA time 11, but in Europe it's 8. So our group is a third of us are in Europe, a third of us are in New York, and a third of us are in LA. And we can all meet together at the same time.
because that's a whole other area too. The producing and directing and writing and things of that nature. Do you like that part, wearing those hats and being in the creative process as much as being the translator and the performer of the material that's on the script? Do you like being one of the folks that's behind the scenes, sort of making it all happen too?
I truly do. Yeah. I worked with Gloria Steinem in the early 70s, before Roe ever passed. With Ms. Magazine, I had written a format of a TV show for a variety show, and Ms. Magazine and the Corporation of Public Broadcasting picked this treatment that I'd written. And I did work as an associate producer on that for a year in New York. And it's hard work being on the other side of the camera. I think it's harder than acting because the hours are so long and the pressure to meet budget and to get the product done in time. It's really hard work. I had a young son and I needed to be more of a mom. So I stepped away from the production side until he grew up. And then I do produce things from time to time, music videos particularly.
That's right. How do you like that?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it because I like to be in my own music videos, of
Right.
course. So I get a good cameraman and go, okay, this is where we do it. And this is what I envision. And I have a cute one. I think it's cute. It's it's called Facebook, a song that I co-wrote. And there's a music video on YouTube called Facebook as Suze Lanier-Bramlett. And I'm the same person. I do music as Suze and act as Suze, and I don't know why. It just seemed like it fell into place that way.
And then Jean, when you go over to Paris,
John, if I'm
Jean
in,
Lanier.
yeah, Jean Lanier. Jean Lanier. I'm impressed.
No relation to Jean Nette.
No.
And then the whole, which super fans I know, but that connection with Three's Company, that iconic series in the beginning, during sort of like the pilot stage. Tell us about that and how did that all happen? And you were like the choice initially, yeah.
Well, I had lost. They were already in rehearsal.
Yeah.
John and Joyce and another actor, Chrissy were in rehearsal, and I had just gotten back from shooting some extra footage of The Hills Have Eyes, And so I had just gotten back into LA, and I was at the Market Basket. They didn't have cell phones back then. And so on the intercom, Susan Lanier come to the office, and it was my agent. And he said, get over to ABC. They're shooting a pilot called Three's Company. I said, God, I've got sand in my hair. I don't have any makeup. I'm terrible. He said, go over anyway, right now. And they put me in the shower and washed my hair and put me on makeup. And I was looking at these huge cards because they were desperate. They were not happy with who the Chrissy they had hired. And because I had to shoot that pilot in like 4 days in front of an audience, there were a lot of lines to learn. Yeah. And my agent was able to negotiate a pretty big salary because he had the network over a barrel in a way. And you know, a lot of times when you don't end up on something, it involves money. You know, I know this does not come as a surprise to too many people. And I am a fan of Suzanne Somers. And I think she did a great job of playing Chrissy. And I went on to do some other things. And it all worked out just great. So, you know, I'm very good friends with John Ritter's family, and even today, and I loved him, and I loved that I got to do that, and I loved that I didn't get to do that. I mean, if that makes sense. Part of this business is rejection, and if you're not tough, you won't make it, because there are a lot of ups and downs. There are a lot of yes and no. There's a lot of we're pinning her. We want to pin her. That means I can't take another project, but they don't have to take me if they find somebody they like better. And so that is, it's not for the weak at heart. If you're shy or sensitive, too sensitive, this is not the journey you want to take. This is
not the job. You know, a number of people have said that who are in the acting world, and they've said something similar. They've said, and I use it as a reference sometimes, if you are an accountant, or 50% of you wants to be an accountant, the other 50% wants to be in Hollywood or New York, on stage, an actor, TV, film, whatever. If it's half and half, be the accountant. Because you have to be 100+ in.
That's right. I still, during COVID, I hate saying that word. Anyway, during COVID, I still worked with Lyle Kessler from the Actors Studio on doing scenes and working on my craft. I'm always working on my craft. I did a film reading with amazing actors on Sunday. I mean, you can't really stop if you want to still be in the game. Many of my friends just want to play and sleep and hang out or go to the gym, and they don't want to continue to do it or can't continue to do it. And I feel blessed that I still want to do it and can do it, and you know, and I can still remember lines, and you know, it's a fun business. And I'm a widow, so I don't have anybody to put that energy into, and I'm not, you know, I'm really happy being a creative artist and only having to answer really to myself, you know.
Yeah,
it's a blessing.
You right, you were married to one of the great song makers, creators, songwriters of our time. I mean, even I think the song Superstar too was one of which
Bramlett.
Yeah.
Bramlett. And he had a group called Delaney and Bonnie and Friends, and everybody was in their band. I did not know him then. I met him several years later after that band broke up and they broke up. But you know, George Harrison played with them, Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix. He wrote for Janis Joplin. I mean, and a lot of Joe Cocker. He produced Joe Cocker and Tina Turner, and you know, everybody. And a lot of these people continued after I met him to hang out at our home. We called it
How
the.
did you guys meet?
He had seen The Hills Have Eyes, and my girlfriend's husband, Daryl Leonard, who's a very well-known, fabulous trumpet player from Texas, and I had known them from Texas, was playing with him at the Troubadour in LA. I think it was the Starwood. We always fought about that. No, it was the Troubadour. No, it's the Starwood. It was the Starwood, really. But anyway, Daryl was playing in the band, and his girlfriend at the time, now they're married, asked me to come to the gig. And I went, oh, no, I'm too tired. I've got to do a commercial tomorrow. Oh, come on. Just one set, and then we'll leave and go home. And so we drove to Hollywood. She talked me into it. And he came down off the stage, and he had seen me in The Hills Have Eyes the night before I met him. And he just came off the stage and he said, give me your phone number. And I saw you last night in The Hills Have Eyes, and I'm going to marry you. And I went, oh, you're crazy, and that's what happened.
The rest is history. How cool is that?
You never know some of the things, you make decisions about doing things in your life, and you never know when it's going to result in a life-changing event, and that was life-changing.
And he also left us with so much fantastic music, so many great songs. Again, Delaney. I imagine he was very excited about, supportive of the music side of you, right?
Particularly my writing skills. His wife, partner, Bonnie Bramlett, is an amazing singer, and I don't have those chops. I'm okay. I'm not, chop liver, but don't have her chops. But I really am pretty, I think, clever with wording and lyrics, and that's my strong suit. And we made a really good writing team. Yeah.
Lots of great, and again, you are an epic performer yourself as well. Here's another, I mentioned this earlier, Swamp Cabaret. Tell us about this.
Well, it really is a comedy show.
Yeah.
After he passed away, and he knew I was kind of working on the show and wanted me to do it, and he helped me with it, actually. And then he passed away in 2008, and so I promised him that I would continue with the show. And so it was like songs I wrote, putting my life together. Piecing it all together. And I do stand-up comedy, which I had done on Tony, Orlando, and Dawn. Like I said, I started off with comedy. And so I had done sketches on Sha Na Na and Tony, Orlando, and Dawn as series regulars on both of those shows. And so I wanted it to be a funny cabaret, not, they call it the big book, where they sing raindrops keep falling on your head and all the standards. I don't do any of that. Mine is a little bit nasty, a little bit dirty, naughty, and funny. And I just put the stories of my life together. Like I have a song, If Roy Rogers Was My Daddy, because I used to pretend Roy Rogers was my dad, if I'm going to shoot you, if I'm going to shoot you or something, I'm going to shoot you, which is meaning shoot you with the camera,
The camera, yeah.
So some of them are sort of hokey, I suppose, but they're funny. And I do have friends that say, when I'm in a bad mood, I put on your CD, and I don't talk on the CD. It's just the music. But the music does have a sense of humor in it. I have Leave Your Hat On by Randy Newman on it. And but most of the other songs I wrote.
That's fantastic. And there's more music coming out. You mentioned the Christmas, and you've always wanted to do that. That's quite an accomplishment. There it is there.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. Is that something that it's available? People can get that?
Yeah. It can be downloaded.
It's probably on Spotify and iTunes.
All of those. It's on Bandcamp. It's on all of it. And I had thought, well, maybe I should write a Christmas song. And it's kind of sad. I mean, it's about doing Christmas by yourself, and a lot of people have to do that. And I said, I thought to myself, has there ever been a Christmas song written about, doing Christmas on your own? And so that's why I wrote it. And one of my fans wrote me and said, I lost my husband this year, and I would not have gotten through this Christmas without that song. And I played it over and over and over again. And I was so honored that she said that to me. And I thought, well, if nothing else comes of it, that made it worth it,
You sometimes you don't realize the lives you touch until those things happen. Somebody writes in or on social media, or you bump into them at the supermarket or something, and they say something like that. It's the blessing of all the work and everything that you do, which I think is amazing. There it is there again, folks. Be sure and look that up and get that, because again, you get a chance to hear her do her thing for the holidays. You mentioned, of course, The Hills Have Eyes. We remember seeing it when it was first airing on cable. How did this come about for you?
I had done Welcome Back, Kotter, and one of my friends named Carol Propp was friends with the casting director, or was kind of helping Gus Shermer cast The Hills Have Eyes. And Carol Propp pitched me to Gus, and they called me in to meet with Wes Craven, who had seen Welcome Back, Kotter. And so we had such a great meeting. It wasn't an audition. It was just a meeting. And it was not called The Hills Have Eyes. And my agent didn't want me to do it because it was called Blood Relations. And my agent said, no, you're not doing a movie called Blood Relations. No way. And I loved Wes Craven so much that I said, no, I really want to do this movie. And not with his blessing, I went and did The Hills Have Eyes. And I am so happy that I followed my instincts and did the movie. And because it was life-changing in many ways. I guess people might not know who I am if I had not done this movie. And also I met the love of my life through this movie. And, it just was a life-changing experience. And I have so many beautiful fans that love this genre. And so I get to continue to work in the genre as well as other things because of it. So Wes and I clicked immediately. And he and Peter Locke told me that night, that the first meeting on Sunset, that I had the role if I wanted it. So that's how that happened.
It's one of those eerie sort of stories where what happens, and I won't, there may be people who haven't seen it yet, but it's like it plays on some of your greatest fears, kind of like when Jaws came out and people were fearful of going in the ocean. Gee, maybe there would be a shark that would eventually, which this year there seems to be a lot of them everywhere, but it played on the fears that people have of the unknown, what could happen. And here you have this family that's going through on their vacation and camping and all, and some of the most incredible things happen to them. It plays on sort of the fears we have of what happens if you drive your car into a desert and the thing breaks down. I mean, I drove alone through Death Valley after a TV shoot with nobody knowing in a rental car. For some reason, I didn't think of The Hills Have Eyes. I think if I did, I wouldn't have done it. But it was August. It was hot, but it was life-changing. There was something about, we're here on the East Coast, the New York tri-state area. So we have the cities and the suburbs and the ocean and the lush trees and all. But it had to be the desert for me to really get some of the life-changing energy I felt.
Place.
It's what was it like being on set, being in the desert? I know it was hot. I know it was long days, but what were some of the things for you that you were left with that might have
I'll tell you this, that you just brought up a memory that I had completely blocked for some reason. I don't know. But on the way to the set one day, to do some retakes or something, because we lived out in the desert in a hotel for the shoot. But occasionally on the days off, I'd go home and see my son and then go back. And on my way back, a man in the middle of the desert tried to pull my car over. And I don't think had anything on below. And he tried to, cut the car, stop my car. And I am so happy that I spent some good years in New York, because that makes a girl pretty tough. And I just went, don't mess with me, dude. And I got away, and I was lucky, because no telling what he would have done. And the desert is a dangerous place to be out there driving by yourself. There's no getting around that, and I think, it's not the first time, I guess, people have tried to bother me, but it's hot, and I'm just not a desert person. I'm a mountain ocean girl, a New York girl, really. But I mean, I go shoot in the desert, but it's not my favorite place.
If they said we're going to do another version of it, would you like an updated version? You would probably say, you know what, with this technology, can we do it all on green screen? Let's use the green screen now. Yeah. We actually have to live out there in that heat and in that,
well, I don't think anybody would be interested in me running and doing all the stunts I had to do in that movie, and I could not do them. And now, so I would have to play, the old mother or something. I'd have to play. I'd have to play one of the,
the aunt of the kids. That right. When you watched it, when you saw it in full for the first time, did it freak you out a little bit too? It's amazing sometimes when you're doing the work and the behind the scenes and what it takes and the shots and everything. It's different than when you're the straight consumer of it and you don't know how things are put together to make it happen like we do in these industries. When you first watched it, does it make you feel like
It was a little strange to watch it. I was proud of the way it turned out. It turned out much better than I thought it might. I was privy to some of the dailies. Wes and Peter Locke would let me come in and look at dailies from time to time, because it was my first starring role. I star in this movie, and so that's the reason I wanted to do it, really. And so I knew what part of it looked like. And once it was put together with the music, which was done by Don Peake, and I think the music was really good. And it just brought this life force to the footage. And so I was proud of it, actually. And I was also proud of my work. I have seen other things where I can say, well, I could have done that better. But, I thought The Hills Have Eyes was really well done.
Are you surprised that it has become the cult classic that it has?
Yes. I never, when we were shooting it, I didn't have any expectations for it whatsoever. I just considered it a job. And I didn't know that it would have any kind of momentum. And the fact that it was so instrumental in my whole life, was amazing. I think an actor is lucky if they find a project that takes off like that. And I know there are other ones that are much bigger than The Hills Have Eyes, but The Hills Have Eyes was plenty big for me. I'm very grateful and happy with what it became. I mean, it's not The Shining, but it's still a classic.
You got to work with some really incredible, talented actors and actresses, of course, like Dee Wallace and several others. What was it like working with everybody in some of these really interesting scenes that we still see in our minds.
Well, Michael Behrman and I are friends in
Yeah,
real life, and we've done a music video called "Watch What You Ask For," and
right.
that's also on YouTube. And Dee,
This is a shot from it right there, right?
yes, and Dee was a doll, and we were, because we were the family in the trailer, and some of our scenes were not shot when Janice Blythe did Ruby. So the family was that was a shoot time, and then the other people, did the other shoot times. And so Dee and I became pretty good friends, and we're neighbors now. So, and when I did Cut, it's I play Susan Lanier, horror film director, and my ingenue is Gabrielle Stone, who is Dee's real life biological daughter. Dee is her mother. And that was really weird because I worked with Dee in The Hills Have Eyes and Gabrielle in Cut. So that was cool.
That's amazing, huh? It's all one big family, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Hollywood really is a small town in a way. You're going to meet each other, and particularly the horror genre. We're all pretty close, and we all run into each other and do films together. And Devaney Penn just directed Black Mass, and this was her first directorial project. And I was happy that she asked me to play the German mom in that. And she's, it's a fun community, actually.
It really is on so many different levels. I mentioned Tony Orlando and Dawn too, and you were a part of the that series, The Rainbow Hour. What was that like working with Tony Orlando and Dawn and just that whole? Because at that time they were so huge. All those shows, Tony Orlando and Captain and Tennille, Donnie Marie, Sonny and Cher, all of those shows were like the shows people were watching. And Tony Orlando just wrapped up his 60 years and almost 70 years on stage. One of the sweetheart guys, it's just one of the nicest guys from every interaction I've had with him. What was it like being a part of that? And that's great visibility too for you being on that.
I was a series regular on that show doing stand-up, and I was teamed up with George Carlin.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that if you want to learn how to do comedy, And they had it didn't run all that long. I think we did 13 weeks of it or something. But anyway, I kept getting teamed up with George Carlin for the skits. And we were both invited to audition by George Schlatter, Saturday Night Live, the very first season. And we were already having a job with making more money than they were offering. And George said, no, we're not going to do that. Don't do that. And I'm just going, that would have been fun. But at any rate, I mean, everything works out the way it's supposed to.
There's a reason for everything, right?
Yeah, there's a reason for everything. But I got to do sketches with Alice Cooper and Freddie Prinze Sr. and Steve Lawrence, and just who else? Great people. Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
And so I got to do some skits with some wonderful people, and it was just a lot of fun, And I thought Tony Orlando was a doll, and Dawn and Joyce and Thelma were so sweet. So we had a great time. I've had a lot of fun.
You know what they did? He did Mohegan Sun Arena, which is in Connecticut. He did Atlantic City, and then I think he did Las Vegas just a couple of months ago when he wrapped up his whole career. And he lives in Branson, Missouri, and it was epic. 3.5 hours nonstop, and then Dawn surprised him on stage, and he brought all these fabulous people on. But when he went back home to Branson, Tony Orlando, when he got off the plane at the airport, there were yellow ribbons everywhere. And then when he got back home, all of the theaters and the light poles and trees, people had welcome home, Tony. Thank you for all you've done with the yellow ribbons. He was on all the marquees of all the theaters in Branson, welcoming him home after the epic tour, and then, or the final shows. And then there were yellow ribbons all over, and people in groups at the airport waving him with signs. That's when you know you've really, as you have too, I know you've heard it from so many people, have made a real connection with people, which is what these are jobs, this is income and all the rest. But when you're doing your art and it's connecting with people on different levels, it's the icing on the cake, isn't it?
I think maybe that is why we all do it, is to connect with people. I don't know if if artists are really conscious of that being the inner need of the expression of your art form. But I think it is to be able to connect with humankind and each other, and to make people feel something. And yes, it feeds it. It's an ego kind of business. And I've tried not to think of it in those terms, because I've been down as much as I've been up. And I think we all have, or a lot of us have, maybe not everybody. And, it's just a blessing to be a part of it. And the human connection is the driving force. I do believe that.
It is on so many different levels. And I think, you could do some motivational speaking. Like you say, you do some teaching. You enjoy that?
I love that. It's a lot of fun. And what I do teach are, more like how to audition, and, how to work with the camera and things like that. So it's not just a scene study, which is also good, but partly that, but not really.
You teach them what the apple box is.
The apple box, the half apple box.
Yeah. People are like, oh, apple box, what are they talking about? Yeah. You step up if somebody's shorter. Yeah, right.
No, not
step up on that apple box so you and the other talent are equal and not right.
Yeah,
that is funny. All these different things. This was cool. You sent this along, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. An artist painted that and sent it to me.
Wow.
So,
that's a super fan. Wow. Isn't it incredible?
Yeah,
beautiful work.
I'm doing a convention in
From the Hills Have Eyes.
August the 16th and 17th, and I'm going to have that mass produced to be able to sign at the convention.
You go to a lot of those different conventions, or there's so many of them now, here, there, and everywhere, right?
Yeah. No, I don't. I like to be home writing music and writing things and acting. I don't love being in airports all the time, and now it's harder than ever before. So I'm selective about the ones I do, and I can take them or leave them. I do love meeting the fans, but it's really hard work, and it doesn't look like that, but it's hard work. The last one I did was in LA, which isn't hard because I can just drive there with all my stuff. And I saw Henry Winkler for the first time in a long, long time. And it was the most beautiful reunion. And that's the part I like most about it, is running into people I've worked with and getting to see them again. And Henry we kissed and hugged and had pictures, and it was really fun. So I enjoy them from time to time, but I know a lot of actors who now that's their full-time job, and that would not be me.
No, it's a lot. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons Tony Orlando said that he wanted to neatly wrap things up, is because of the airport delays and the travel and just everything you've got to do, going all over, and having done that for decades, there's no need or desire to do that at that level anymore, you know?
Exactly. I don't mind a couple of them a year is fine with me. I don't need to do more than that. You sit there all day and you meet amazing, beautiful people, but it's hard work and honestly, it's the travel part that turns me off the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
I
lot.
love meeting fans, but I don't love, the
Just the
hotel,
whole
the
setup and
travel.
exactly.
Yeah.
Another one too. Yeah.
With Bill Oberst. Yeah, I play another evil. I'm evil in that one too. I've had a nice little run of evil characters. I do play nice every once in a
You
while.
do. Beneath the black veil. It's
Yeah,
another cool. That's a great one.
Jason Koch wrote and directed that, and I like this character a lot.
Some other cool photos that we have here.
That's from Red Rooms. This
Yeah.
we did, and that's on Tubi.
That is on Tubi. People can see that now. That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's very recent. And
Yeah.
Brooke Lewis not only created it with Joshua Butler, but she's in it as well, and she's wonderful and a dear friend of mine. So, and that is got inverted, and
Oh yeah.
Tristan Clay. I think it's just now being released, and I play sort of a Charles Manson cult leader.
So you're still, you're in the thick of it. You're doing the music, you're acting, you've done, stage productions, film, television. This is something you could easily, like you say, as far as the flying and the travel, it's all crazy. But you could easily be swinging in a hammock with your feet in the sand in Miami Beach saying, I'm good. I've done what I've had to do. But you really love art and creating and expressing and sharing and being a part of a collaboration of other fellow creators and making things. Again, you've done this for a long time. You've entertained us and made us think, and you've scared us and made us laugh and cry and all these incredible things through your art. But it's still something, a fire that yearns and burns inside you, isn't it, Susan?
I think once I know Tony Orlando enough to know that he's not going to sit home in a hammock. Tony Orlando will be doing something he enjoys that's creative. And I have never done any of the things that I've done if I would not do them if I didn't enjoy them. And that's what brings me relaxation. When I'm all strung out about the news or what's going on in the world, I go to the piano and I sit there, and that's the way I get rid of the negativity. And I know that Tony Orlando can't just go home and do nothing. I know he'll do something. He might even write a book. He would have a
He
fabulous.
is. He's writing a book.
Yeah.
I think a screenplay, things of that nature.
See,
Yeah,
wait,
he is.
it's not by choice.
Oh,
You just
right.
have to do it.
It's another role in his life. He's taking on other things, still staying connected, but now without having to wait in airport terminals and all of that stuff. Speaking of plays, somebody that, well, we lost several people: Bob Newhart, Shannon Doherty, all these different people recently at the time of this show. But somebody that you actually knew and participated in some things with was Richard Simmons. And we had Stanley Weislitz, who is an epic songwriter, composer, and arranger. And he and his better half created the theme to the Richard Simmons show. Do, 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 do. I can still hear it in my head. But we lost Richard unexpectedly just a week ago. But you actually had interactions with Richard Simmons over the years.
When he first opened his studio in Beverly Hills, it was the thing to go do. Everybody had to go to Richard Simmons exercise, class. And I had formerly been a dancer when I was younger. I'd gone to a lot of dance classes and I enjoyed it so much. Richard Simmons was so much fun. You know, he just made you work out, and it was just a hoot. And he wore these tutus and would, you know, lead the dance moves, and it was addictive. All my friends went to his classes in Beverly Hills, and honey, pick it up, get that fat ass off there, you know. You know, he would, and you know, he was such a hoot. He Who he presented himself to be, to the public, was exactly who he was. And so he became famous after I took his classes. He was he was well known only in town as the new
That's the
exercise
guy.
class to go to, but
Right.
but
It
he
was
was
Slimmins, right? The name of the places were Slimmins, I think.
I, I can't remember the name of
Yeah,
it, but
Slimmins, I think. Yeah.
I think I went before it even had a name. I mean, it
So
was
he was like the Jose Ebert of
yeah.
fitness.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody knew. And yeah,
And he wore little ballet shoes, and oh, he was a hoot, you know.
a
And
real life force.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was sad I mean, and he was always working on his health. So
Yeah. I personally know his PR person. And because we were talking maybe at some point having him as a guest here on the Jim Master Show. And Richard was making a serious comeback. He was
mhm,
incredibly active all of a sudden on social media,
mhm.
just celebrated his birthday, and they were working on a Broadway play about his life.
Oh,
And Patrick Leonard, who was just a guest on our show 2 weeks ago, who was worked with Madonna, Leonard Cohen, all these amazing people, um, was doing the music with Richard for the Broadway play on his life when he passed suddenly. So Richard was really feeling good and was energized and ready to come back out,
you know,
do his thing.
the same thing happened to my friend Leslie Jordan. You know, Leslie from Will and Grace. I don't know if you ever had him as a guest on your show, but uh, during COVID, he became an international sensation over his broadcasts about being in COVID.
Oh,
And
those were great.
he became more. I did 4 plays with Leslie, and 4 musicals. I did one of his last musicals with Sally Struthers. I played her sister, and we did that show here in L.A. at the Rinberg Theater. And Leslie became. I mean, you know, he worked and worked and worked, and he finally made it. Finally bought his own home. He had rented all these years, and before he moved in, he passed away, and it was just heartbreaking. You know, he was a genius. Leslie Jordan, without question, was a genius.
Was, yeah, right. A unique figure and another person absolutely full of life and vim and vigor and spirit. You know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree because your son, Eric Dylan Thomas, rhythm guitarist for a punk band, the Dickies.
Yeah, right now he's playing with 45 Grave, which the horror
Wow.
people would
Yeah.
enjoy. He plays internationally as well as in
Wow.
LA, but he just started his own band called the Other Dylan Thomas, and
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
he's kicking butt. I mean, I went to the gig the other night and it was packed, and I'm very very proud of him, and I know that Delaney would be proud of him if he was here to see what he's doing. But he's such
Yeah.
a good person. So
That's fantastic. Congratulations to him. And, you know, it doesn't, like I said, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree because it was in the 80s when you had your own country blues band and performed in the LA club scene, and you integrated original music material with the stand-up comedy, right?
yeah, and cover songs too. I know that I played the piano. I didn't play keyboard at all. I was going to say piano. No, Palomino, which was a big country club here in LA that was very very popular. Everybody played there. Jerry Lee Lewis, you name it. Everybody. Leon Russell, everybody played there. And I opened with Lucinda Williams a couple of times. And so I'm a big fan of hers, and I love her music. Lacey J. Dalton, I worked with her. And so it was a country blues band is what it was. I wasn't doing too much comedy at that time. The comedy thing evolved.
It came along. Did you, is there anybody that you wish you had had a chance to collaborate with musically over the years, or if somebody is still around, would love to if that opportunity came your way?
You know, I did not go to school for music, but I was married to Delaney, and I was with Delaney for many years when we weren't even married. And that was like going to school and working with the best of the best. I don't think it gets much better than Delaney Bramlett, and so I would say I'm satisfied in that area, with that. I mean, I loved Ray Charles, and I loved Leon Russell a lot and their music. And I'm enjoying. When we stop this interview, I'm going to go right tonight with a girlfriend, Lisa Harrison from the Waltons.
Oh yeah.
We're working on a new song, and we're going to walk our little dogs and then get on the piano and finish the song. So yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. What inspires you to write the music? How are you inspired by everyday living and things you observe and feel in your life daily?
Well, I have always been for women's rights. And we started this song a couple of weeks ago when things weren't looking as up as they are now, I guess I would say. And it was going to be
every day is something different, right?
And it's about taking your power back, and not letting it get away from us just because we're female. And I am very much into the ERA passing. So, so that's I try not to get political, but I'm very passionate about women's rights.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place to be for sure. And you are writing that book, huh? Is it like a memoir? It's going to be a memoir.
It's a memoir. It's a memoir, but it's only 6 months of my life at 17 years old.
Is your pen name going to be Jean Lanier?
No, it'll be Susan Lanier.
What are some of those additional blessings and joys in your life? You've done so much, and you continue to, which I think is really spectacular. And what are some of those things that still gel you, juice you up, get you excited, and the blessings that you have in your life?
I think the biggest blessing for anyone that is blessed to have it is, so far, knock on a big piece of wood, my health. I feel I have my faculties about me. I'm pretty healthy, and I think as long as you have your health, that's the biggest gift. I think I'm lucky that I live where I live. I love California, and I'm up between Topanga and Malibu, and
beautiful spot. We were talking about that. I've done that drive, and it's beautiful.
Topanga Canyon, and I love that lifestyle. I love being in the mountains and near the ocean. I'll be in Malibu tomorrow, and it's like, I every day I'm grateful. I can walk the dog and I'll look around and go, oh man, I'm just happy to be here.
Happy to be here. Yeah.
So a lot of my friends aren't, and they've, I lost a girlfriend last year, and she was way younger than me, and you never know. And so I think I try to use every minute to be in a place of happiness. I think being happy is a decision that we make, that we can make, and make the best out of whatever's happening. And I know some people might say, "Oh yeah, sure," but
That was
really,
true.
it's
Yeah.
a choice to make. And I've had my own challenges of life and struggles, and it's being, you know, trying not to let that ruin everything. Just letting,
Right.
I've lost a lot of people I loved, and I was very close with my mom, and of course my husband was the love of my life, and so to lose those people, it's not easy. But I think to dwell on it doesn't do any good. So it's just go get busy and do something and be grateful in the moment of what we have, because right now really is all that we have, and we don't know what's going to happen in 2 minutes from now. So that's where my gratitude comes from, be here now, being here now.
Well, we're so grateful that you are here now, Susan,
Thank you.
and you are really extraordinary. You've got a beautiful outlook on life, and I love when we were just really scratching the surface of some of the things you've done and the things you're working on now and the things that are yet to come that we're going to be experiencing from you. But you have this fantastic outlook on life that is inspiring and positive. And there's the touch of humor, which I like too, because I love quick wit. And, that's something I just was passed down to me as well. And you really get the humanity of life through it all. You've been on major sets, you've been on television, you've been in film, you've been on stage, you're in music studios, you're on the air, all these things. But you get what it's really all about, and it's being kind and empathetic and compassionate and sharing a laugh or two with all of the glitz and glamour that comes with everything. You seem to be very grounded and understand what it's all about.
I think so. Thank you for those comments. I think kindness is a huge thing, and I don't let I don't allow anyone in my life near me that doesn't treat me with kindness. And I tell other women that, particularly women and men, um, you know, we make our own choices. And if you feel like somebody's not treating you the right way or the way you want to be treated, get away from that person, because everybody deserves to be loved and they deserve to be treated kindly. And so I don't allow people in my life that don't treat me with kindness.
It's beautiful. Well, you're in the right spot here because that's what this show is all about. And the last time we had such an epic conversation, and it was in the thick of that crazy time. And I'm so glad that you were able to carve out some time, still with that glow of coming back from Europe and Rome and New York as well, which I know you love so much. And she gave me a bucket list. There's a list of other places that she wants to travel to. And knowing her, she will
I'll
do
get
it.
there.
You are there.
I'll get there.
Well, when you're back in this area on the East Coast, ring me up and lunch on me. I would
Cool.
love that, my friend. That would be fantastic. You're
I-
always truly a delight because you are the real deal. And I think that comes from the very beginning of when you grew up and how you just looked at life and the choices you've made. And people realize that you really are a breath of fresh air. And I love having you on. And as I always say to everybody, we're going to keep that porch light on for you, Susan. You are welcome back here on the Jim Master Show anytime. Spread the word about our show. Other folks you think might like to pop on, they're all welcome. And I really hope you enjoyed your return visit to the show, enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you.
Jim, thank you so much for inviting me back. I've loved it. I love being on your show. So thank you.
The
And
pleasure.
thanks everybody for watching.
All of the viewers, everybody commenting. We'll throw in a couple of quick little things here from our viewers. Thanks for being here again, Susan. You have a wonderful attitude. Loved listening to you tonight. Wishing you continued blessings. That's one of our faithful, lovely viewers, Kathleen in New York City. Thank you for she's a big fan as well and loved it as well. Jane, you talked about Sweden. She's watching in Sweden. Thank you, Susan, for being here again. Thank you for the great show. Good night, Jim. It is 3:50 a.m. in Sweden, and she's up with us.
Oh my God, thanks.
Die hard, right? A die hard. And Sherry in Kansas taking off. Thank you, Jim, for another great show. Good night, everyone. Have a wonderful Tuesday. Love and hugs. She enjoyed this with you as well.
Bye,
a lot of great folks. And thank you for coming back. She adds in to, as we call it, Lovety Hall, the Jim Masters show. Susan, so glad you came back to catch us up on all you've been doing. Blessings and all you do in the future. Thank you very much. We love that as well. And Austin Field watching, another great show. Subscribe for great content. Thank you, Austin, for your great comments and everybody that's here watching. And Maureen in Arizona. Susan, thank you so much for making a return visit to Lovety Hall. You are such a busy person, and my best wishes go out to you for all that you still plan to do. You're amazing. Love that. Loved it. Good stuff. Thanks for all the time and the generous time as well. Love chatting with you. And whether we chat for 10 minutes or longer, you're always welcome back. And come see us again, my friend, okay?
When my book comes out, we'll do
when
that.
The book comes out, yes. And everybody, I'll tell everybody how to, find the music and all the rest. Is there a website people can go to or anything?
No, I don't have a website up right now, but I do Facebook, Instagram.
It's all the social media locations.
Everything under Susan Lanier or Suze Lanier-Bramlett. You'll find me on either name. And I do answer DMs if somebody wants to. Very
nice. You're the best, Susan. I really appreciate it. You be well, have fun, and come see us again. And truly, I am honored to have you back. And thanks for all the time. You're very generous, my friend.
Thank you. I loved it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You take care.
Bye-bye.
See you from the East Coast.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Is she not a delight? She is one of the best. She's a veteran of the industry, and she is a breath of fresh air. She is truly one of the nicest people, isn't she? I love having conversations with her. And we talked about a lot of different things, not just the typical things, that you would expect. The Hills Have Eyes and all the things that she's noted for. But she was really open and authentic about her life and about things that she's passionate about and things that she's working on and things that she's most proud of and the ups and downs of life and how she got through the last couple of years, because she was on as a guest on the Jim Masters Show live series during the thick of the pandemic. So, it's nice to see that she's living a joyful life. She's living a content life. There's loss, there's things that happen in our lives, but she has this understanding of what it's all about and taking each day and making the most of it, the best that you can. Here she is, somebody that's, beloved in film and television and music and stage. She's a real person. And she is a nice person, and she's somebody who's ultra creative. And that's great. Isn't it refreshing? Sometimes you wonder, some of the folks that you see on television and movies and you hear in music and all, are they as nice as they? She's one of them. And she mentioned Carol Burnett, who I also had the opportunity to know, still know, but meet and chat with. Also on that list of one of the sweetest people and real people. Exactly what you see on screen is what Carol Burnett's like. No ego, no airs about her. Funny, witty, quick, and just absolutely amazing. Quick couple of comments here, and then we'll wrap up here. And thanks for all your support, everybody. Some of our viewers watching around the world. Susan is a breath of fresh air. She really is. Her outlook on life is inspiring. What a beautiful human she is. And if this was your first time watching the Jim Masters Show, again, she was with us just a couple years back. And this was a return visit for Susan to the Jim Masters Show. If you enjoyed this episode and all the episodes that we do and work hard to create for you, here's how you can help us. Give this episode a like. It means the world. When you click like and you share the episode and you leave a comment for us, underneath the episode, the comments section, it actually allows our episodes and our series to be seen by more people. YouTube then sees that you're responding, you're enjoying these episodes, you're enjoying the Jim Masters Show series. And when you click like, it's like you're voting for that episode, you're voting for the series. When you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, which costs nothing, that also tells the platform, YouTube, that you're enjoying this. So they'll say, hey, wow, there's a lot of people that enjoy that episode or the series. We're going to allow more people to see it around the world. So when you click like, it really does that. When you leave a comment in the comments section, it helps us. And when you do subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is just click the subscribe button, it helps us as well. And for those of you who are subscribing or have subscribed, don't forget to click that little bell icon. That's the notification bell. I know for those that watch all the time, you hear so many of us say that over and over. It's only because we get so many new people watching all the time. And sometimes people don't know about some of the technology, the way it works. So we repeat it just in case it's something that's new and fresh for you. But if you click that notification bell, what that does is that allows us to send you a notification. You'll be alerted about all the great guests, and you'll never miss an episode, especially a live episode. Because I know you like to interact, you like to watch. And when the shows are live, and most of our shows are live, and that alone is a monster effort to be able to do that. Because the shows, most of them, if not all, are live and have been all these years, you get to be a part of it while the show is live, while the guest is actually here. And if those of you who watch our series, and there are thousands of you who watch our series when the show is not live, because we archive all of them, note that you'll never miss a thing because everything is saved and archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Real quick, I just want to let you know, talk about brilliant people. Eric Roberts was on our show just the other day. And if you didn't see that episode, again, another epic Hollywood legend, an iconic actor, he was on, and his wife Eliza was also on. We had an extraordinary conversation. You can see that episode archived on our YouTube channel. And Filippo Prande, who is the writer and producer of this fabulous new film that Eric is starring in with Carol Alt and Pico Simonini, he was a guest as well. Check that episode out. Eric Roberts, the legendary iconic actor, brother of Julia Roberts, another brilliant actress. His daughter is Emma Roberts, the very popular, celebrated actress. Guess what? Eric was on the show a couple of days ago. Eliza, his wife, actress herself, they were all on the show. And you can see that episode archived, and hundreds more. And coming up on our next episode, Debbie Campbell is returning. She is the daughter of music and country music icon Glenn Campbell. This is an exclusive JMS conversation coming up tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. She has a lot of new music and cool things that she's going to share with us. We had an epic time when singer and entertainer Debbie Campbell was a guest on our show. She's coming back tomorrow. She wants to come back, asked to come back. That porch light's been on for her, and she's returning to the Jim Masters Show on the next episode. So that's going to be really, really cool. So many fabulous guests, celebrity friends, and special guests joining us here on the show. And we thank Susan Lanier, legendary actress, producer, director, writer, in some of the most iconic pieces of work in the worlds of TV and film and stage. And don't forget, she is a spectacular singer and performer, and her music is available on iTunes and Spotify and all the rest. If you want to follow us, we are also on social media. Come check us out on Instagram at Jim Masters TV, X, formerly called Twitter. X is Jim Masters TV, and on Facebook, Jim Masters TV. The same name as the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. So you can follow us, you can like, you can do all the rest. So we're very, very interactive on all those platforms, X, Instagram, and Facebook, and of course our YouTube channel as well. So with that said, we thank Susan for joining us here, and we thank you for stopping by, JMS. Thanks for the chat room comments. We really appreciate that as well. And it's kind of you to say all of that. Let's take a couple more here, and then we will, they're kind of like our studio audience. Jim, you are simply the best. Thank you very much, Maureen. I'd be lost without Lovity Hall, which is what this is, the Jim Masters Show. My happy place at the end of the day. Thank you for everything you do. Bring us only the best. The pleasure is all mine, truly. And I'm glad you guys really enjoyed everything that we've done here thus far. Come see us again. We're going to keep the porch light on for you. As I mentioned, Debbie Campbell was here, and Eric Roberts was just here. Debbie is going to be joining us, and we just had Susan returning as well. Hope you return. Spread the word if you enjoyed what we've done here. Come see us again on the Jim Masters Show. If this is your first time watching, welcome. Welcome, welcome to the family, the Lovity Hall family here at the Jim Masters Show live series. All right, Jim Masters, thank you for your time this time. Till next time, don't forget to love one another, take care of one another, and don't forget to do the very same for yourself. We'll be right here waiting for you in Lovity Hall and the Jim Masters Show on the next episode. You be well, take care, spread the word to the world about JMS. We would love that. We appreciate those of you who do. And we'll see you on the next one. Jim Masters saying, love you all, and cheers.